This plane has no windows because it's designed to survive nuclear war. It's called the Doomsday plane, the E-4B Nightwatch. Only 4 exist on Earth, and one is always ready to launch. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, waiting for the moment we all pray never comes. This flying fortress costs $160,000 per hour to operate. It's the most expensive plane in the entire Air Force. It can stay airborne for an entire week with mid-air refueling. It drags a 5-mile antenna out the back, just to communicate with nuclear submarines hiding deep underwater. The cockpit windows have metal screens like a microwave oven to block deadly radiation. And here's the craziest part. It uses old-school analog instruments. No touchscreens, no digital displays. Why? Because modern electronics would completely fry in a nuclear electromagnetic pulse if World War III ever starts. This becomes the President's Flying Pentagon, a mobile command center at 35,000 feet. 112 people inside, generals, strategists, communication experts, all running a nuclear war from the sky while cities burn below. Follow for more secrets the government doesn't advertise.
All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakak Qudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. This video is from Neutrality Studies, which is entitled The Plan to Kill Humanity. Total Extermination is Real. Doctors I. Hughes and S. Starr. All right, we're going to get into this real quick. This is the book of 2 Peter 3 and 9. And it reads, it says, the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long-suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. Verse 10, but the day of the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burnt up.
Hello everybody, and welcome back with 2 of my favorite scientists. I've got with me again Dr. Ivana Nikolic-Hughes, the director of Frontiers of Science program at Columbia University, and Dr. Stephen Starr, the former director of the University of Missouri's Clinical Laboratory Science program. Ivana, Stephen, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, thank you very much for agreeing to talk to us today about, the reality and the very, very horrible reality of the nuclear threat. I know, Stephen, you prepared actually a couple of slides, so I'll give it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Pascal. Ivana and I are going to do a joint presentation. I'll share my screen here. Well, I taught a class on nuclear weapons at the University of Missouri for about 10 years, and I found that most of my students were very ill-informed about what nuclear weapons were, what nuclear war meant. And then a couple of years ago, I saw this public service announcement prepared by New York State, their New York Emergency Management video. I mean, it would have been funny if it was a satire, but given the state of things today, I thought if this is what Americans think about nuclear war, what their government's telling them, and I think hopefully the point of this presentation will give you all a little different insight. But they told you to get inside, and stay tuned, and don't go out until it's
Yeah, so I just want to add on to what he said. All right, he said that most of his students were misinformed about nuclear weapons and the meaning of nuclear war. Right? Scriptures say that the people won't be mindful of the scourges. Right? This is the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 16. In verse 17, and it reads, it says, woe is me, who would deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Verse 19, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for a minute. Verse 20, the point. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges, right? So like he was saying in the video here, okay, the majority of his students, they're pretty much oblivious to nuclear weapons and the meaning of nuclear war, right? Let me read that again. Verse 20, 2 Ezra 16 and 20 says, but for all these things, they should not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges, right? So the majority of the people on this planet are not mindful of the coming scourges that the Lord is going to bring on the earth. You know, this word scourge, the meaning, it says a source of widespread dreadful affliction and devastation such as that is caused by pestilence or war. All right. People are not prepared. All right. Let me get this real quick too. In Luke, just thinking out loud. All right. Because this day is going to catch people unaware. All right. This is Luke 21 and 29. It says, he spake to them a parable. Behold, the fig tree and all the trees. When they now shoot forth, ye see and know of your own selves that summer is nigh at hand. Verse 31. So likewise ye, when ye see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of the Most High is nigh at hand. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. Verse 34 here. It says, and take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. All right, like we just read, the people are not mindful of the scourges that are coming, right? And so that day come upon you unawares. Verse 35. For as a snare it shall come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. See that? As a snare, it's a trap. Okay? This day that we're speaking about is going to catch the planet off guard, right? Verse 36. Watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. See that? So we pray that we're worthy, that we're part of the elect to be preserved, okay, from this coming destruction. All right.
Nuclear war meant. And then a couple of years ago, I saw this public service announcement prepared by New York State, their New York Emergency Management video. I mean, it would have been funny if it was a satire, but given the state of things today, I thought if this is what Americans think about nuclear war, what their government's telling them, and I think hopefully the point of this presentation will give you all a little different insight. But they told you to get inside, and stay tuned, and don't go out until it's safe.
This was big a couple of years ago when it came out, because it is such a ridiculous video. It's like, okay,
Right.
Just shelter in place and grab some snacks, stay tuned. You've got this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is what a 15 kiloton bomb did to the city of Hiroshima in 1945. There was about 5 square miles of the inner city. It was completely destroyed by a nuclear firestorm. People there that stayed inside weren't safe at all. And nowadays, the power of modern nuclear weapons dwarfs the power of the atomic bombs that were first developed 70, 80 years ago. I put these drawings here to scale. The Hiroshima 15 kiloton bomb. Kiloton means thousands of tons of TNT explosive equivalent. It's on the left corner there. Russia today has a couple 800 kiloton thermonuclear warheads on their ICBMs that are ready to launch within 5 minutes or less. And they also have deployed these incredibly large 57,000 kiloton. That 1,000 kilotons is 1 megaton, or 1 million tons of TNT. This is an image of a bomb that they detonated in 1961. And this, to give you a sense of perspective, this is a group of American soldiers that were marched out in the Nevada desert to watch a test. The 72 kiloton bomb was airdropped. And this picture was taken 7 miles away from the mushroom cloud. So, keep that in mind. This next video is a video the Russians took in 1961 of a 57,000 kiloton weapon. It's 90 miles away.
If you work in IT design.
So this pass.
Wow. This bomb is 6,700 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. And it would set an area on fire about 1,400 times larger than the area set on fire by the Hiroshima bomb.
Yeah, so these are the weapons of the Lord's indignation. All right, Isaiah 54 and 16. All right, Isaiah 54 and 16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. All right, going back to these German scientists. All right, the Temanites. All right, that created this nuclear weaponry that we see today. Starting with the atomic bomb. Okay, how they were able to split the atom and create this this nuclear weaponry that we see today. All right, the Lord gave them that spirit to create this this technology here. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. I have created the waster to destroy. All right, the atomic bomb, and today the nuclear bomb. All right.
That gives you an idea of what modern thermonuclear weapons would do. Now, I'll give this to Ivana here. She can take over.
Thanks so much, Stephen. So you got from Stephen already the sense of enormous scales, enormous energies involved in these nuclear explosions. I have a slightly different comparison here. In the middle image, you see again the destroyed city of Hiroshima after a 15 kiloton atomic bomb. And then at the bottom is the Russians, the Soviets tested the Tsar Bomba. You just heard 57,000 kilotons. The largest US explosion was the Castle Bravo explosion in 1954, another thermonuclear or hydrogen bomb. This is the image of the Castle Bravo mushroom cloud, which was 25 miles or 40 kilometers high and 60 miles wide, or about 100 kilometers wide. And that was exactly 1,000 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. But how does this actually compare to chemical explosives? So we're talking about these energy yields in terms of TNT equivalents. So 15 tons for Hiroshima, 15 megatons for Castle Bravo. At the top, you actually have two images related to the Oklahoma City bombing. So on the left is the federal building that was destroyed in this attack. On the right, of course, is the image of the building after the attack. This was in April of 1995, so a little more than 30 years ago. The official narrative here is that Timothy McVeigh filled a Ryder truck with chemical explosives equivalent, I've seen different estimates, but let's call it 2.5 tons of TNT equivalent in terms of energy yield. So that explosion actually killed 168 people, including actually 19 children at the daycare center of the federal workers working in the building. Over 300 other buildings in a 16-block radius were either damaged or destroyed. The damage at the time was $650 million. So in today's dollars, probably well over $1 billion. And we're talking about the energy yield that is 6,000 times smaller than the Hiroshima bomb, or 6 million times smaller than the Castle Bravo bomb. And that's not all. So, Stephen, if you just go to my next bullet point, what's also special about nuclear weapons is what happens to all of that energy. Fine, they produce a ton of energy, a lot more energy than single chemical bombs can do. Although, of course, what we have seen, in fact, in Gaza since October 7th of 2023, what we have seen there is that the amount of explosives used is estimated to be on the order of 100 kilotons of explosives. Now, that may not be exactly 100 kilotons of TNT equivalent, but it's still on the order of a few to several Hiroshima bomb equivalents. But one of the big differences here that we have is that in Gaza, it's all destroyed, right? So the energy goes into the blast. With nuclear weapons, you have the blast, the destruction, you have the heat, and we'll see a little bit about that from Stephen in just a moment, in that some of the energy, in fact, 35% of the energy that's produced goes into heat, in essentially creating a fireball, essentially creating a miniature sun on the earth. And then on top of all of this, you also...
That's crazy. It's gonna the explosion, all right, from the nuclear fallout is gonna create an actual mini sun on the earth, man. All right, that's fervent heat, man. Right? 2 Peter 3:11. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved. All right, the nuclear explosions can create a miniature sun. All right, when this goes down, shit is going to get dissolved. Right? Seeing that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, man? This don't put the fear in you, man, to understand this. Okay? I did a lesson before, and you had these nuclear scientists saying that the temperatures can reach to 15 million degrees plus. Right? Verse 12, looking for and hasting unto the coming day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Whew, man.
Get with nuclear explosions, radiation, some of the energy goes into producing the initial radiation. That's things like neutrons and gamma rays, all very destructive, especially to human health. But then there's also the long-term consequences of radiation fallout with several isotopes. If you just flash them, playing a particularly troublesome role. And I just want to highlight these ones, but there are others as well. So we have, for example, iodine-131, which accumulates actually in the thyroid and is related to many thyroid cancers in communities that have been exposed to radiation fallout. This is not just from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This is, of course, also from the nuclear testing era in places where nuclear tests were conducted, like Marshall Islands, like Kiribati, like Algeria, like in the United States, Nevada test site, Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan had a very large Soviet nuclear test site as well. And iodine-131 it's very interesting because it has a half-life of 8 days. That means it doesn't stay in the environment for very long. It might be in the environment for a few weeks, and after that it's gone. But while it's there, again, it accumulates in the thyroid. Then there's strontium-90 and cesium-137, which are really highly problematic. Both have half-lives of about 30 years. That means that they can...
Hold on, let me see if I can speed this up a little bit. We're not going to watch this whole 57-minute video. I just want to get some more points from it. All right. Let's see.
Essentially be in the environment for, let's call it 200 plus years. And both are actually very biologically active. Strontium is chemically similar to calcium, which of course we all know that we have calcium in our bones. We all know the calcium, that we intake calcium, for example, when we drink milk. And cesium-137 is chemically similar to potassium, which we also know is found in food. And both of those, of course, get incorporated into our cells and tissues and bones and so on. And so when these radioactive isotopes are present in the environment, in the soil, the plants take it up. And then when we eat the plants, or for example, when cows eat grass that has strontium-90, then we might drink milk that has strontium-90. And the last that I want to highlight are these plutonium isotopes. There are different types of plutonium isotopes. Plutonium is very heavy, and it can be breathed in, and it goes straight to the lungs. It's probably the cause of many of the lung cancers in exposed populations of people, for example, who don't smoke or never smoked. And what's important about plutonium specifically is the fact that it actually has, some of the plutonium isotopes have half-lives of thousands of years. So plutonium-239, for example, 24,500 years. That means it's in the environment for a couple of 100,000 years. And so I think this kind of radiation exposure just really illustrates that nuclear weapons are just so different from anything else that...
Yeah, you know what? And that proves, just thinking out loud, that proves when that nuclear fallout happens, that fallout is going to be around for a period of time, man. All right? That's why I said in, was it Isaiah? I want to say Isaiah, was it Isaiah 26? Bear with me. How's it go? Yeah, here we go. Isaiah 26:20. And it reads, it says, "Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers." Right? Speaking about the chariots. All right? Because when the destruction happens, or before the destruction happens, the elect are going to get beamed up into the chariots, man. All right? It says, "Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself, as it were, for a little moment, until the indignation be overpassed." Right. So the elect are going to be on the chariot, all right, for a particular amount of time until the indignation be overpassed. That's going into the nuclear destruction, the fallout. All right, and until it's time for the elect to come back down out of the chariots, man. You see that? Verse 21, "For behold, the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity." And how the Lord is going to do that? Through nuclear war, nuclear destruction. "The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain." All right.
We might use in times of war, or that, for example, has been used in Gaza, where you can imagine coming back and rebuilding, whereas this sort of radiation fallout doesn't just impact regions locally, it can spread around the globe, and it can really last for very, very long periods of time. And in fact, my own research at Columbia with students and colleagues in the Marshall Islands, which was site, can you just go back? Let me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Which was the site of U.S. nuclear testing from 1946 to 1958. Our research in the past 5 to 8 years indicates that there are significant levels of obviously not iodine-131, that's long gone, but of the other isotopes actually in the soil, of cesium-137 in the food, high levels of gamma radiation, and this is of course in a place where the testing ended almost 70 years ago. So one more slide from me, if you can go to the next slide.
Yeah, and that makes sense too, because that's why, just thinking as she's talking, this is why they got the bunkers, man. All right, because when the nuclear destruction goes down and the fallout happens, the earth is pretty much going to be inhabitable at that time, man. So this is why they got those bunkers. This is why these elites have those different they have those different retreats, getaways in remote parts of the earth. All right, and they're going to be underground. They're going to be in the mountains, under the water. How the scriptures say how they're going to hide, Revelation 16. Okay. Yep, this is Revelation 16. And let's start at 17. Okay. Matter of fact, this is 16. Bear with me. I'm trying to. Is Revelation 16? Where they're talking about let the mountains and rocks fall on us? Make sure I'm in the right chapter. Bear with me. Let's see. Does the mountains fall on us? Mountains, let the rocks fall on us. Fall on us. I know it's in Revelation. I thought it was Revelation 16. Yeah, Revelation 6. I had 16. All right, this is Revelation 6. And here we go. The sixth seal, terror. Well, she's talking about the nuclear destruction, the fallout, the radiation. Revelation 6 and 12. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, right? Going into those warheads hitting the earth when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And it says, in the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. That's that mushroom cloud that we saw earlier. Every mountain and island were moved out of their places, right? Going into the severity of the destruction, how it's going to rearrange the earth. Mountain and islands are going to be moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth and the great men and the rich men and the chief captains and the mighty men and every bondman and every freeman hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? You see, so like I was saying, all right, you're going to have the kings of the earth, the elites. All right, they already have the bunkers and things like that, the getaway retreats in the mountains and all of that, different remote parts of the earth where they're actually going to, survive that destruction, only to be the first fruits of slavery. All right, when the elect come back upon the earth in those new bodies to take over the planet. Here's another example of the fallout. I'm going to find it real quick. All right, here it is right here. Okay, how could a nuclear war between Russia and U.S. affect you personally, right? I just want to make a point real fast.
We help in.
Let this pull up real quick. Bear with me, because I just want to make a point about the fallout. It actually shows you that in this video here. All right.
If there was a full-scale nuclear war between Russia and the United States. Based on non-classified data, the aftermath might go something like this. When one side launches nuclear missiles, the other side detects them and fires back before impact. U.S. submarine-launched ballistic missiles from west of Norway start striking Russia after about 10 minutes.
Yeah, here we go. Right
50 times more people can create much more smoke. And a firestorm sends plumes of black smoke up into the stratosphere, far above any rain clouds that would otherwise wash out the smoke. This black smoke gets heated by sunlight, lofting it like a hot air balloon for up to a decade. High-altitude jet streams are so fast that it takes only a few days for the smoke to spread across much of the northern hemisphere. In the meantime, Earth gets freezing cold, even during the summer, with farmland and...
Yeah, so that part right there, that's part of that fallout, man. All right, the radiation, the smoke, covering the skies. You see? So that's what I was thinking about. She was breaking that down, Right, but let's play a little bit more. We'll wrap it up. Like I said, just wanted to make a few points. You can watch the rest of the video on your own.
One of the things about radiation, I think that we don't always appreciate is that...
Let's jump up a little bit, see if there's anything else we can take from it. All right. So we don't get too bored on this video. But they have like a whole PowerPoint presentation of class showing you how these elites plan to kill humanity. All right. Total extermination is real. All right. So Esau is breaking it down. All right. Let's see what he says here.
Belarusian scientist who actually worked on this, right? Also, like what this internal like poisoning, radiation poisoning does. But maybe we leave that for later. So if you want to focus on this one first.
There's a big difference in the standards, and I think that the radiation safety standards actually act to disguise the danger of the internal ingested and absorbed isotopes, but we can talk about that another time. I'm going to talk more about the nuclear weapons and the ones that exist today. Both the U.S. and Russia have 1,700 nuclear weapons that are each 7 to 87 times more powerful than the Hiroshima atomic bomb. These are deployed and ready to use. And let's look at a detonation of one of these, an 800 kiloton warhead. And 1 second after detonation, a fireball above New York City would be about a mile in diameter. The surface of the fireball is hotter than the surface of the sun. And that's, Ivana pointed out the difference between a chemical and a nuclear explosive. A chemical explosive burns about 7,000 to 9,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This is 100 million degrees. So it's like a piece of the sun suddenly appearing on Earth, which is not a good thing. And
100 million degrees, right?
It'll vaporize anything beneath it and just set fires everywhere. This is an image, photo of a shadow that was left on the sidewalk in Hiroshima. A person was sitting there, and they were basically beneath the fireball. The Hiroshima fireball was maybe 100 yards in diameter, but it's just as hot as the sun. Now, 30 to 40 seconds after.
Man, that's Zechariah 14. He said 100 million. Yo, you in contact with that, you're going to just evaporate. All right, this is Zechariah 14 and verse 12. And it reads, "And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem." That plague is tied back to the nuclear destruction. All right, that's part of the plagues. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. All right, that's what's going to happen as a result of that nuclear destruction. Okay, you're going to just melt away, as they're breaking it down here in this video. He said 100 million degrees, right? It's going to vaporize any and everything.
For the detonation, you would see the mushroom cloud or the fireball rising up at several hundred miles per hour. And beneath it, all the fires that were instantly ignited by that fireball are starting to coalesce. And in tens of minutes, they'll form one gigantic fire. We call that a nuclear firestorm. And that will have winds going in towards the center of hundreds of miles per hour. They're strong enough to uproot trees. And the air temperatures in the fire zone will reach 400 to 500 degrees Fahrenheit in 10 or 15 minutes, well above the boiling point of water. So no one's going to survive in that zone. Even if you're in a deep shelter, the oxygen would be used up. You might be baked alive. I mean, it's
Yeah. Because like you said, you're going to be baked alive. That's why these people out here in America, these celebrities, these dumbass, people who got money and shit that's buying bunkers in America, they're going to die here, man. All right. The scriptures say that Babylon should be desolate without inhabitant. So you're just basically going to get baked under the ground. All right. The only escape is through Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, getting beamed up out of here.
almost unimaginable. We did see firestorms similar to that during World War II in Dresden and Hamburg. They weren't able to go into those zones for weeks just because even a tracked vehicle couldn't go in. It's so hot afterwards.
Smart founders know something.
We'll play a little bit more and we'll wrap it up. All right, heavy stuff.
Well, Russia has deployed, we saw that image of the 57,000 kiloton weapon earlier. They have now a Poseidon drone. It's like an unmanned nuclear submarine, but they call it a drone torpedo. It has a 100 megaton warhead, or 100,000 kilotons. It's twice as large as that 57,000 kiloton. It will travel 115 miles per hour. It basically has an unlimited range because it has a small nuclear reactor engine in it that powers it, so it can be deployed off a coast and just loiter indefinitely. When it detonates, it can create a 5,000 to 7,000 square mile fire zone, and as well as a radioactive tidal wave.
Man, woo, real quick, and you can watch the rest of that. I just want to get one more scripture here. All right. But that nuclear destruction is what's going to bring the lake of fire. All right. It's going to turn America into a lake of fire. All right. And like it says in Revelation 18, all it's going to take is 1 hour for this place to get destroyed. All right? Because of the speed of those missiles, man. All right? Revelation 20 and 14. This is Revelation 20 and 14. It says, "And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire." All right? Death and hell is America, man. All right? The Lord is going to cast death and hell, which is this place, into the lake of fire. This is the second death. All right? Nuclear destruction. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire, man. Man, you know? So that's pretty much the point. You can watch the rest of that. Just wanted to bring forth some of the information. I pray that this lesson was edifying. Shalom.